Hello everyone, this is Emily from Couch English, channel dedicated to practical business English. Today I'm inviting you to talk a little bit about shared services and self-service idea as well. If we are to talk about shared services, they have been quite popular, I would say, for several years already. And how about the idea of that particular business model? It works this way that especially if we could imagine international company, let's say some automotive company. Probably that kind of the company would have several divisions in charge of producing engines, for example, but at the same time all of those divisions they would have to do different kind of back office, different kind of support tasks, because still, despite the fact that their core business is dedicated to producing some engines, they would have to do all the accounting stuff. They would have to issue the invoices. They would have to calculate payroll. They would have to make sure that compliance is in place. So all that particular back office tasks still they would have to be executed. And in the traditional model, each of those divisions, let's say we would have 50 divisions all over the world, all of those divisions they would have to manage all that additional tasks on their own. But if the company decided to introduce the shared service, what would happen would be creation of, for example, one single unit, shared service, and that particular unit it would be dedicated to managing, for example, those accounting tasks for all that multiplied divisions all over the world. It would still work this way that divisions would be responsible for producing the engines, but at the same time they wouldn't have to care about managing all that back office, all that support tasks, because that kind of the processes they would be transferred to shared service. So still it would be like internal division, internal unit of the organization, but managing that back office stuff. It would work this way that, for example, the company would decide that the accounting services, among the others, for example, issuing the invoices, would be placed, for example, in Romania, or maybe in India, or maybe in any other country. And in that countries, that accounting staff would be taken care of. The decision where to place shared service, among the others, is connected with the cost efficiency. So if we know that the process can be simply cheaper in a certain country, we could place it here. But of course, that's not the only criteria. What also matters is access to dedicated staff, to people with certain types of the competences. So one of the first things the company would have to do would be to check if in Romania, if in India, we have people with proper qualifications, if we have enough of people who can do that accounting stuff, and if yes, they can transfer the process. What I personally especially appreciate with the idea of shared services is the change of the mindset. This is a bit like my personal opinion, but I have that kind of the feeling that for many, many years there was a huge disproportion between the approach to clients, like external clients, and to employees. And I would say that usually, if it is about the external clients, everything what was done by employees of the organization was of the highest quality. The level of service was really, really very sophisticated and advanced. But if it is about managing some additional tasks done by one employee to another employee in the same organization, I would say that we didn't have that kind of the approach that internally, as the other employees, we should treat each other the same, just as we do it with the clients. So for me, the idea of shared service changed that idea. Because it started working this way that if shared service was delivering particular tasks and operations and transactions to certain types of the organizations, I mean, still, of course, these internal ones and those divisions, They were very often working on the task registry system. They had to report all the tasks. Very often also there was the possibility to provide the feedback to score the result of task execution. So somehow this approach connected with delivering high quality, high level of the service, I would say it was implemented also in shared services. In my opinion, in many organizations, it even works right now this way, that despite the fact that we do not have the shared services, we are just a group of people working together, a group of employees working together. For example, in one company, I would anyway say that we started implementing the same approach as we have towards the external clients. So it doesn't matter right now if I'm going to collaborate and communicate with the person external. It doesn't matter if I'm going to have contact with somebody internally. Still, what matters is that that's my stakeholder. This is somebody with whom I collaborate, communicate, and I want to show that I deliver high level of tasks, competences. So for me, employee, external client, doesn't matter. Still, this is somebody to whom I'm dedicating my time and competences. And again, I would say that it is something that we are taking directly from shared services and their approach. There is a very similar form to shared services, which is called business process outsourcing. Very similar one. In fact, I would say that the only or the main difference between shared service and BPO is connected with the type of the provider. In case of shared services, we are talking about the internal provider. So one of the divisions, that's shared service. And if it is about the BPO, we are going to hire the external provider. Probably, if we again imagine such a situation, that we would have maybe still international company, although that particular company wouldn't have so many divisions, let's say only four. Probably when they started calculating the synergy effect, when they started calculating the economies of scale, they would probably take a conclusion, they would probably draw a conclusion that it makes no sense to create a separate shared service because simply it will not generate profits. So in that case, if they're going to see that it's not profitable, what they can do is to hire the external company, external provider, still the one which is going to be responsible, for example, for accounting or for payroll calculation, but that's going to be the external one. And that's going to be the business process outsourcing. One of the very popular examples of business process outsourcing, which even has a separate name, it is so-called information technology outsourcing. So that form of the collaboration in which the companies decide to outsource the IT services, different ones. Among the others, it can be even about the system administration. The idea would work exactly the same. So we don't want to perform certain types of operations internally. That's why we're going to transfer them to the external provider. It can work also in different ways. Among the others, I can work with that external provider on a quite regular basis. And probably, if so, I would pay to that provider flat fee. So exactly the same amount of money, because that kind of the company, they are going to deliver to me the same type of the services. Most probably they will dedicate more or less the same amount of time. That's why I'm going to pay to them the flat fee. It would be based on the contract and then regular collaboration. It can, of course, also happen that generally I do not need to have that regular collaboration. So from time to time, I just need some kind of the company which is going to deliver to me some certain type of the application, maybe, or software, or from time to time, they're going to support me with my, for example, security systems. If yes, then I can collaborate with that kind of the organization as needed, on as needed basis. And then probably we're going to agree what is going to be the fee for the service delivered. Another form of the collaboration, very popular again in case of IT, that's so-called body leasing. And what's going to be the difference? In terms of outsourcing, it works this way that if I work, let's say in my company, in Couch English, and I would need to have some kind of the support in system administration, I would rent the external company and I would outsource. So I would transfer my process to that company. So I wouldn't probably even see the employees of that organization. I can, of course, still contact them, but they would be still working at the premises of that external organization. And if it is about the body leasing, it works a little bit differently. First of all, still formally, the employees working in that external company, so ITO, and the employees working in body leasing, they are going to be employed by that external agency. But in case of body leasing, those employees, they're going to be working at my premises. So they are going to be, let's say, physically or at least remotely available to me, which most probably means that I'm going to hire them for example, 8 hours per day, like exclusively, and they're going to deliver the tasks, certain types of the projects to me. So formally, they are employed by the external agency, but in practice, they work for me and with me. So that's about body leasing. Most typically, if we're talking about the reconciliation, it is going to work that way that I'm going to have the contract with that external agency, which is going to be called time and material model. So if I want to pay for the service delivered, I have to receive from that external agency the report, some kind of analysis, in which I'm going to have the precise calculation how many hours were dedicated to me, and based on that, I'm gonna release the payment. And that's about time and material contract. One more thing, which is connected this time with no external provider and even no internal provider, this is the trend which is called self-service. How it works? It works this way that because of automation of the processes, because of the digitalization, because of the dynamic environment in which we live, right now it's becoming more and more popular that certain types of the operations, certain types of tasks, they are going to be performed internally by employees. For example, if we had the shared service, let's say connected with the accounting, probably a dedicated accountant would issue the invoice. Or if we had the HR administration services outsourced, for example, probably submitting the documents related to leaves, they would be done by the external HR administrator. Or if we wanted to receive the cost reimbursement for the business trip, probably we would ask the accountant to support us with that. Although, at the same time, if we follow the idea of self service, it works this way that different types of administrative tasks, they are not going to be done by other employees, by some administrative other functions, like the accountant, like the payroll specialist, like the HR administrator, but they are going to be done by everybody, by each of the employee. So it would mean that even though I'm going to have the function of, for example, business trainer, so normally my tasks are connected with executing, performing trainings. At the same time, I'm going to submit my leave request in the system. At the same time, I'm going to enroll in the benefit system because I'm going to use some certain type of the application delivered obviously by my company. I'm going to apply for cost reimbursement on my own via some certain type of the application. So I can perform certain types of the administrative tasks on my own. I don't have to ask anybody else to support me in that. And that's about the idea of self service, doing certain types of administrative tasks on our own, which is also connected with being empowered to realize different kind of the tasks, but at the same time it's connected with taking higher level of accountability and ownership, because we don't anymore ask other people for the support, but we do something what is typically not connected with our core function. We do it on our own still. So I would say that that's the reason why it needs certain level of maturity, accountability, and ownership. I believe that's everything if it is about the topic of shared services and among the other self services. So I hope you enjoyed it, because my intention is always to deliver to you some valuable content connected not only with business English, but I would rather say connected with expanding your business knowledge based on my practical experience. So I hope you like it. And of course, if yes, what I can definitely advise is to follow our YouTube channel. What you can find there are different kind of webinars. Usually they are the longer ones, because most typically they will take around 1 hour. I can also recommend podcasts, so something as you could hear and watch, of course, today. They will last around 15 minutes. And apart from that, you can find there different kind of shorts. What you can enjoy in case of the shorts are just certain types of the business words, some type of the vocabulary that can be in practice met in business. So if you liked it, please subscribe and follow our YouTube channel. Thank you very much, and see you hopefully the further times.